I never expected a simple smile to change everything. Theo, my neighbor, stood by his fence, the morning sun catching in his hair. And for a moment, the world around us faded. It was just the two of us, sharing a moment that felt electric. My heart raced as I realized feelings I thought were long buried were slowly bubbling to the surface. It was strange, almost frightening, to feel this way again. My life with Michael has settled into a routine. I wake up, make breakfast, and shuffle through the day like a ghost. We have our little talks, our shared jokes, but they no longer spark joy. I often catch myself staring out the window, watching the world pass by, wishing for something different. Then there's Theo, with his easy laugh and warm presence. He was a breath of fresh air in my stifling life. But could I really allow myself to feel this way? One afternoon, while I was watering my garden, I heard a voice behind me. "Mind if I join you?" It was Theo, his eyes bright with curiosity. I nodded, trying to hide my surprise. We chatted about the weather, gardening tips, and soon, the conversation turned deeper. "What do you think about happiness?" he asked casually, but his gaze was intense, searching. I paused, taken aback. "I think happiness can be hard to find," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. Theo stepped closer, his warmth wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. "Have you found yours?" His question hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I felt my heart pound as I considered his words. Was I happy? I wanted to say yes, but the truth was more complicated. "Sometimes I wonder," I admitted, my voice trembling. "I think I lost it somewhere along the way." Theo nodded, understanding flashing in his eyes. "It's easy to lose ourselves in the everyday grind," he said softly. I felt seen in a way I hadn't in years. He was right. My life with Michael felt like a comfortable prison. As we talked, I could feel my walls starting to crumble. There was something about Theo that made me want to share more, to open up. "I guess I just feel like life is passing me by," I confessed. "I don't know how to get back to the person I used to be." Theo's expression softened. "You're not lost, Eliza. You just need to find what makes you happy again." His words echoed in my mind, igniting a flicker of hope. But at the same time, guilt washed over me. How could I even entertain thoughts of happiness when I had Michael? He was my husband, after all. I felt a storm brewing inside me, a battle between loyalty and desire. My heart was shifting, and I couldn't ignore it. "What if I choose the wrong path?" I asked, fear creeping into my voice. "What if I hurt the people I love?" "Sometimes choosing yourself isn't the wrong choice," Theo replied, his tone gentle yet firm. "You deserve to be happy too, Eliza." His words struck a chord deep within me. Could it really be that simple? As I stood there, surrounded by blooming flowers and the scent of fresh soil, I realized that my heart was slowly awakening. I was scared, yet exhilarated. My feelings for Theo were undeniable, and they stirred something deep within me that had lain dormant for far too long. What would happen next? Would I dare to explore this connection with Theo? Or would I retreat back into the safety of my mundane life with Michael? The questions loomed over me like dark clouds, and for the first time in ages, I felt alive. As days passed, my friendship with Theo grew deeper, blossoming into something I never expected. Each stolen moment together felt like an escape from my mundane life. I found myself looking forward to our secret meetings more than anything else. The excitement made my heart race, filling me with a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. One afternoon, we met in the backyard again. The sun cast a warm glow, and the air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers. I watched as Theo leaned against the fence, his smile bright and inviting. "You know, Eliza," he said, brushing a stray hair from his forehead, "I could stay out here with you forever." I laughed softly. my heart fluttering. "And let the world fade away?" I replied, feeling a mix of thrill and apprehension. "What if someone sees us?" "Let them see," he said, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "I don't care. This is our moment." His words sent a rush through me, but the thrill was always shadowed by guilt. I thought about Michael, the man I had promised my life to. I loved him, didn't I? Yet, as I stood there with Theo, the emptiness in my marriage became impossible to ignore. One evening, as we sat on the porch after dinner, I looked at Theo and said, "Why does it feel so easy with you? Like I can breathe again?" "Because you've been holding your breath for too long," he replied gently, his voice low and sincere. "You deserve to feel alive, Eliza." His words resonated deeply, making me reflect on my life with Michael. The laughter we once shared was replaced by silence and routine. I realized how distant we had become, both physically and emotionally. I wanted to scream, but instead, I just smiled weakly at Theo. When I was with him, the world seemed brighter, but the guilt was a heavy weight on my chest. I often replayed moments with Michael in my mind. The way he used to make me laugh, the little things he did that showed he cared. It all felt so far away now. One afternoon, we met again in the park, the sun setting behind the trees. "Eliza," Theo said, taking my hand and looking into my eyes. "I need to know something. What do you really want?" I felt my heart race. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "I mean, are you happy? I see the way you light up when we're together, but what about your life with Michael?" He pressed gently. His question hit me hard. I don't know," I admitted, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "I've been so caught up in everything. I haven't taken time to think about what I really want." Theo squeezed my hand. "It's okay to be confused. Just know that you deserve to be happy, Eliza. You deserve more than a life that feels empty." His words tugged at my heart, and I felt the walls I had built around my emotions start to crumble. The tension inside of me grew, twisting and turning as I grappled with my feelings for Theo and my commitment to Michael. I wanted to scream, to run away from it all. But instead, I just sat there, frozen in uncertainty. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew I was at a crossroads. The thrill of my secret affair pulled me in one direction, while the weight of my marriage held me back. I could feel the rift widening between my heart and my mind, and deep down, I knew something had to give. "Whatever happens, Eliza," Theo whispered, "I want you to choose what makes you truly happy." His words lingered in the air long after we parted that day. I returned home, my mind racing. The joy I felt with Theo was intoxicating, but the guilt of my hidden life gnawed at me. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I realized I had to confront my feelings head-on. The secret affair was thrilling, but it was also a dangerous game, and I was running out of time before the truth came crashing down around me. As I walked through the park that afternoon, the sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over everything. Theo and I strolled side by side, the sound of our footsteps blending with the gentle rustle of leaves. I felt a strange mix of joy and unease. Every moment with him felt like a secret treasure, but I knew that I was also carrying a heavy burden. "Are you happy, Eliza?" Theo asked suddenly, his voice soft yet piercing. The question hung in the air, and for a moment, I hesitated. I looked at him, searching for the right words. Did I even know what happiness meant for me anymore? I took a deep breath and replied, I don't know. I used to be, but things have changed." The honesty of my words surprised me, but it was the truth. My life with Michael felt so far removed from the joy I felt with Theo. Theo stopped walking and turned to face me, concern etched on his face. "You deserve to be happy, you know. Life is too short to feel trapped." His gaze was intense, and I could feel my heart racing. I wanted to tell him everything, to let him know how much he meant to me, but the weight of my reality pressed down on me. "What about my life with Michael?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I have built a life with him. It's not perfect, but it's stable." I tried to convince myself as much as I spoke to Theo. "Stable doesn't mean happy," he replied gently. "You deserve more than just stability. You deserve passion, laughter, and love." His words struck a chord, and I felt tears welling in my eyes. I wanted to feel those things again, but I was scared of what that meant for my marriage. As I looked away, memories flooded back, each one sharper than the last. I remembered the day Michael and I first met, the laughter we shared, the dreams we built together. We were young and in love, full of hopes for the future. But over time, those dreams faded, replaced by routines and unspoken resentments. "Do you remember when we used to go on adventures?" I asked Theo, my voice barely above a whisper. "We would explore new places, try new things. I miss that." Theo nodded, a soft smile tugging at his lips. "I can see that spark in you, Eliza. It's still there, waiting to be ignited again." His words ignited something deep within me, a longing I thought was lost. But then, the guilt washed over me like a tidal wave. "I can't just walk away from Michael," I said, my heart heavy. "He trusts me. He relies on me." "Trust and reliance don't equal love," Theo countered, his tone firm yet kind. "You have to look after your own heart, Eliza. If you keep ignoring it, you will only hurt yourself more." His words hit me hard. I felt trapped in a cage of my own making, torn between loyalty and the yearning for something more. I was standing at a crossroads, and every direction seemed fraught with pain. "I'm scared, Theo," I confessed, the tears spilling down my cheeks. "I don't want to hurt anyone, especially Michael, but I can't keep pretending that everything is okay." Theo stepped closer, gently wiping my tears with his thumb. "You're not alone in this. Whatever you choose, I'll be here. Just promise me you will be true to yourself." His warmth enveloped me, and in that moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe it was time to confront my feelings head-on. Maybe I needed to face the truth of my heart, even if it meant confronting the painful reality of my marriage. As we resumed our walk, I felt the weight of my decisions pressing down on me. I realized I could no longer run from my feelings. I owed it to myself and to Michael to be honest about where I stood. It was time to confront my happiness, no matter how painful that journey might be. I took a deep breath, finding strength in my vulnerability. I knew I had to make a choice, and it wouldn't be easy. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of clarity. It was time to face the moment of truth. The secret I had kept felt heavier than a mountain. I could no longer walk through the house without feeling its weight pressing down on my chest. Each smile I shared with Michael felt fake, and every laugh echoed hollowly in my ears. I knew I had to tell him the truth. One evening, I found Michael in the living room, his head buried in a book. He looked comfortable, relaxed even. I hesitated at the doorway, feeling my heart race. I had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in my head, yet no words seemed right. Finally, I stepped forward. "Michael?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked up, surprised. "Hey, Eliza, what's up?" I took a deep breath, gathering my courage. "Can we talk for a minute?" "Sure," he replied, closing his book. "Is everything okay?" "No, not really." My hands trembled as I sat down across from him. "There's something I need to share with you. Something important." Michael's expression shifted to concern. "You're scaring me, Eliza." "What is it?" I couldn't meet his eyes. Instead, I stared at the floor, the carpet becoming a blur. I've been seeing someone else. The silence that followed felt like a thunderclap. I finally looked up to meet his gaze. Shock was written all over his face. "What do you mean?" "I mean I've been unfaithful," I said, my voice shaking. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I have to be honest. I can't keep this secret anymore." His eyes widened, and I saw a mix of emotions flicker across his face. Shock, anger, and then profound sadness. "Who is it?" he asked, his voice low. "It's Theo," I admitted, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. "We've grown close, and I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear I never wanted to hurt you." Michael's expression darkened, and he ran a hand through his hair. "Theo, the neighbor?" His voice was trembling now, and I could feel the walls closing in around us. "Yes," I said softly. "I didn't plan for this. It just happened. I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" he echoed, disbelief in his voice. "You think saying you're sorry makes this better? You've betrayed me, Eliza." I felt tears welling up in my eyes. "I know I have. I don't expect you to forgive me. I couldn't live with the lie anymore." He stood up suddenly, pacing the room. "I can't believe this. After everything we've built together, you throw it all away for a fling. It's not just a fling. It's more complicated than that," I pleaded, desperate for him to understand. I felt so alone for so long, and Theo, he made me feel alive again. "Alive?" Michael's voice cracked. "What about us? What about our marriage?" I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. "I know I've let you down. I should have talked to you about how I was feeling instead of running away." He stopped pacing and turned to face me, his eyes filled with hurt. "Do you love him?" The question hung in the air, heavy and painful. I hesitated, my heart racing. "I don't know," I admitted. "I care for him deeply, but I love you. I always have." Michael looked away, his shoulders slumping. "I don't know if I can get past this, Eliza. You've shattered my trust." "I understand," I said, my voice breaking. "I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I could keep it hidden forever, but it's tearing me apart." He took a deep breath, and the silence stretched between us like a chasm. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice small. "I don't know," I replied honestly. "I just want to face this together, even if it hurts." As the reality of my confession sank in, I felt a mix of fear and relief. I had spoken my truth, but the consequences loomed large. I could see the pain in Michael's eyes, and I knew I had to brace myself for what was to come. The days stretched out like a heavy blanket after my confession. Each moment felt like an eternity, filled with an uncomfortable silence that echoed my mistakes. I woke up every morning to the same empty feeling in my chest. The weight of my choices pressed down hard, and I found myself wandering through life in a daze. Theo and I had once shared laughter and stolen kisses, but now our connection felt strained. I could see the guilt in his eyes when we met. It was as if the spark we had was being snuffed out, replaced by an awkward tension that neither of us knew how to address. One afternoon, I found myself sitting on the back porch, staring at the garden Michael and I used to tend together. The flowers, once vibrant and lively, now felt like a reminder of everything I had broken. I heard a soft knock on the door, and I knew it was Theo. "Hey," he said, stepping outside and taking a seat beside me. There was a heaviness in the air as we both avoided eye contact. "Hey," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. We sat in silence for a moment, the sounds of birds chirping filling the space between us. I could feel the tension building, and I knew we needed to talk. "Theo, we can't keep pretending like everything is fine. I finally said, breaking the silence. His shoulders slumped, and he ran a hand through his hair. I know. It's just, I don't want to lose you, Eliza. But every time I look at you, I remember what we did, and it hurts. I sighed, feeling my heart ache at his words. I hurt you, and I hurt Michael. I feel so lost right now. I thought this was what I wanted. But now... I trailed off, tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. Theo turned to me, his expression softening. You have to figure out what you want. But we can't keep going like this. It's not fair to either of us. I nodded, the reality of my situation sinking in deeper. I know. I just don't know how to fix everything. I thought I could find happiness in what we had, but now I just feel more broken. Maybe it's time to face the truth about your marriage, he suggested gently. You can't keep running away from it. His words hit me hard. I had been avoiding the truth, hiding behind the thrill of our secret moments. But now, I realized that the only way forward was to confront the mess I had made. I need to talk to Michael, I said, the thought both terrifying and liberating. I can't keep hiding from him. It's not fair. That's the first step, Theo said, offering me a small, encouraging smile. No matter what happens, you need to be honest with yourself and with him. As I sat there, contemplating my next move, I felt a strange sense of clarity wash over me. The chaotic emotions that had ruled my life for weeks were beginning to settle. I needed to own my truth, no matter how painful it might be. Later that evening, I found Michael in the living room, his attention focused on the television, but his mind clearly somewhere else. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decision. Michael, can we talk? He glanced at me, surprise flickering across his face. Sure, Eliza. What's on your mind? I sat down across from him, my heart racing. It's about us, about everything that's happened. His expression shifted, a mix of concern and curiosity. What do you mean? I've made some choices that have hurt us both, I admitted, my voice trembling. And I can't keep pretending like everything is okay. The look in his eyes changed, and I could see the realization dawning on him. What are you saying? I had an affair, I said, the words spilling out in a rush. I've been seeing someone else, and I'm so sorry. His face fell, and I watched as his shock turned into a deep sadness. Eliza, why? I don't know, I cried, the tears I had been holding back finally flowing freely. I felt lost, and I thought I could find happiness outside of this marriage, but instead, I just hurt you, and I'm so sorry. The silence that followed felt suffocating. In that moment, I understood that honesty was the only way to begin healing. I had to face the truth, no matter how painful it was. And maybe, just maybe, it could lead me to a path of self-acceptance and clarity. The days after my confession felt heavy, like a thick fog wrapping around me. Michael and I sat at the kitchen table, the silence between us louder than any argument we could have had. I could see the hurt in his eyes, a mixture of betrayal and confusion. Eliza, where do we go from here? He finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I looked down at my hands, twisting my wedding ring. I don't know, Michael. I really don't. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. Our marriage had once been filled with laughter and warmth, but now it felt like a distant memory. Maybe we need to take a break, I suggested hesitantly, my heart racing at the thought. The idea of separation both terrified and relieved me. Michael sighed, rubbing his temples. You think that's what we need? To just split apart? I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of my decision. Maybe we can find ourselves apart. I need to understand who I am without you, without us. He looked at me, searching my face for answers. And what if we don't like what we find? I took a deep breath. Then at least we'll know. We can't keep pretending that everything is okay when it's not. After a long pause, Michael finally spoke. I can't say I'm okay with it, but I understand. Maybe it's time for both of us to heal. We decided to part ways, each stepping into the unknown. As I packed my things, I felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. The idea of freedom was both exhilarating and daunting. I could finally explore who I was without the weight of my past choices. Once I moved into a small apartment, I embraced my new life. I painted the walls a soft blue, filled the space with plants, and tried to create a sanctuary. Each morning, I woke up with a sense of possibility. What do you want today, Eliza? I would ask myself. And for the first time in a long time, I felt I could answer honestly. One afternoon, I sat in a cozy cafe, sipping my coffee and watching people pass by. I thought about my journey so far and how much I had changed. I took out my journal, something I hadn't done in ages, and started writing. Dear Eliza, I penned, today you are free. Today, you can be whoever you want to be. The words flowed out of me, a release of all the pent-up emotions I had held inside. I remembered Theo and the moments we shared. They were beautiful, yes, but I knew I couldn't lean on those memories forever. I needed to figure out who I was without him too. You can't run from your past, I reminded myself, but you can learn from it. As the weeks went by, I faced my fears head-on. I attended a yoga class, something I used to enjoy before life got busy. I signed up for painting lessons, rediscovering a passion that had been buried for too long. Each step towards self-discovery felt like peeling away layers of an old skin. One evening, while sitting on my balcony, I gazed at the stars. The sky was clear, and the moon shone brightly. I whispered to myself, "You are enough, Eliza. Embrace who you are." In that moment, I felt a sense of liberation. I realized I needed to be honest with myself and others. I had to accept my flaws and mistakes, and in doing so, I found a sense of peace. I picked up my phone and texted Theo. I hope you are doing well. I need some time for myself right now. His reply came quickly. I understand. Take care of yourself, Eliza. I'll be here if you need me. I smiled softly, grateful for the connection we shared, but knowing I had to put my healing first. I reflected on what I had learned through all the pain and joy of the past few months. True freedom did not come from running away, but from facing the truth of who I was. As I closed my journal that night, I felt lighter. I had a long way to go, but I was ready to embrace each step of the journey. Living authentically was my new path, and I was determined to walk it with courage. Share this story if you believe that true healing comes from embracing our authentic selves. Leave a comment about a time when stepping into the unknown changed your life, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one. Let's embark on this journey of self-discovery together.